Hello, everybody. Welcome to Paranormal Addicts. Good evening, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Paranormal Addicts podcast. As usual, I'm your host, Kent. Tonight we have a guest who has spent decades exploring the paranormal as an investigator, broadcaster, author, and the host of After Hours AM. He's been investigating since long before paranormal TV made its ghost hunting mainstream. And over the years, he has interviewed some of the biggest names in the paranormal while continuing his own search for answers. Please help me welcome Joe Sturgis. Joe, thank you so much for taking time for being with us tonight.
Yeah, man. I was looking forward to it all day. It's be a lot of fun.
Yeah, so we start out with just like questions so everybody out there and myself and whoever don't know you, and maybe even yourself, can get to know you. So for those who may not be familiar with you or your work, tell us a little bit about yourself and how you first became interested in the paranormal.
Sure. Well, I've been at this investigating thing since about 1992. And I kind of got into it reluctantly in a lot of ways. I was working in radio. I've been working in radio as a profession since I was 16 years old. And I'm going to be 52 so soon. So that's a long time. So I started with just a question. I was always fascinated by the strange and unusual, TV shows like In Search of and Sightings and all those things, of course, a big fan of the X-Files, so that kind of stuff. But really what got me going was a couple of personal experiences, and one big one, the biggest personal experience that got me really going was I just gotten out of broadcasting school and I went to Brown for broadcasting. And back in those days, it was super hard to break into radio. So we're talking circa 1994. So it was really hard to get in. It wasn't like today we're at podcasts, which is so awesome that everybody gets a chance to have their voice heard and stuff. But it was really hard getting into the business, like I was saying. And so I ended up taking a job in the Dallas area. And I am actually from northern Minnesota. So Yankee going down to Dallas. That, first off, that was going to be an uphill battle, number one. And I'd been working there now for a couple of years. And one of my good friends was Roy Johnson. Now, Roy Johnson was an old cowboy. I'm talking like in the mid 80s. And he was a real cowboy. Like he did radio after he retired from being a ranch hand, a cowboy. And he used to talk about doing cattle drives from like Kansas to Texas. I mean, real cowboy stuff, right? And so he always had these great stories to tell you, and we, great one-liners. Just a cowboy, just an all-around fun guy to hang out with. And every Sunday morning, he would host his own show because he was up in the years, so he's only doing it a couple hours a week. Called it was On the Trail with Cowboy Roy. So every Sunday morning, I would wait for him to come to studio because I want to talk to him. He's always so much fun to talk to. And so like every other Sunday morning, he didn't miss a beat. Roy's here. Hey, Roy, how you doing? We're talking. And I said, we're talking about whatever's going on. I know at that point he was a big baseball fan and the Texas Rangers were doing really well at that time. And so we talked about that for a few minutes and nothing seemed strange. It was the same old Roy drinking his coffee, talking to me. Nothing was amiss. Now I got my stuff and I said, Roy, you have a great show. The studio's ready for you. Whenever you're ready to go in, go do your thing. And of course he's like, all right, pal, thank you so much. I got to hit the trail. I'll, go do my thing. Awesome. You do that. So I start leaving the building, and this is a 2-story building. Upstairs where our broadcast booths are, and then a break room and stuff like that, where the on-air talent kind of hangs out. And downstairs is the business offices. And so to get through the building, you have to go down a hallway, which passes like the general manager's office and where they do sales, radio sales and stuff. And at that time, we had a general manager named Dennis. And Dennis, it was a weekend. You couldn't get him. The only way Dennis would show up at that station is if it was on fire. There was no other way to get that man there on a weekend, which rightfully so. So I continued down the hallway and I saw Dennis at the end of the hallway, which I was shocked and amazed he was there. Number one, I thought I was getting fired. I thought I'd done something on air. Okay, well, here comes the axe. So I walk up to Dennis. I go, real nice. And I'm like, hey, Dennis, how's things? Kind of gauging his mood, why he's there. And I said, so what brings you here on a Sunday morning? He goes, he says, I'm here because I got to cover a shift, unfortunately. And I was going through my mind. I'm like, well, I'm here. Roy's here. Everybody's here that needs to be here. You shouldn't be here because everyone, I thought maybe Roy had called in sick and he decided to come to work anyway. So I thought, well, tell him, Dennis, hey, Roy is here. So I'm here. I'm just leaving. Everything is good. You can go. No, he said, unfortunately, Roy can't be here. I said, well, why? And he says, Roy died last night in his sleep. What? Yeah, Roy passed away. His wife called me early morning. Unfortunately, he had a stroke, passed away. That's the thinking. He had some heart problems. And I hate to be the guy to break it to you like this, but you've been broadcasting all night, so you don't know anything what's going on in the outside world other than what's going on in your bubble inside the broadcast. So at that point, I say, you know what, Roy, or Dennis, I'm going to take you upstairs. I'm going to prove to you that Roy is definitely here. Because I was thinking he was messing with me. I was thinking, because this guy had no sense of humor. And when it was deadpan dry, right? So it wasn't like, so I'm thinking this guy's definitely messing with me. So we go upstairs and I'm bound and determined to show him that Roy is here. No Roy, empty studio, like absolutely empty. And I remember sitting down in the break room at that point, collecting myself going, well, what did I just experience? So I'm sitting down and I look over and I see it, Roy's cup of coffee was still there with hot coffee in it that he was drinking out of. And I just turned white and I looked at Dennis and he looked at me and I said, dude, you don't understand. I just talked to him. He said, there's just no way you could have. He says, you know what? It's been a long night. Maybe your days are running together. I don't know what's going on, but why don't you go home? And I thankfully had that weekend. That was my weekend off. I had Mondays and Tuesdays off. So I was happy to get out of that building, but I was totally stunned at what I just dealt with and what I just sat through. And then, of course, after it kind of sank in and I started thinking about what was going on and what might have gone on, my other thought was, what am I going to do if Roy comes back? How would, I'm a 22, 23-year-old kid at the time. How would I deal with that? I was frightened. I was scared then for the last couple of days. I'm like, what am I going to do if he comes back? What am I going to do? What am I going to say? Now today, I'd say, hey, sit your ass down. We got some talking to do, Roy. Back then, I didn't think about that way. I was just totally stunned and scared. That kind of thing else, having that experience, because I was kind of agnostic when it came to ghosts. I was, I could take him or leave him, believe him or not believe him. I didn't have any evidence at that time of any existence, but that sure changed that people Sunday morning.
I would say that would be a memorable experience. Definitely a good reason to start. And, we started about the same time. I say I started in 92 because that's when I actually became an investigator. That's where I made the decision that I'm going to be. But my first investigation was actually in 86 when I was 12.
Awesome.
So we're actually right about the same age. I'm 52 now.
Yeah. So you remember the old challenges of having tape decks and 35 millimeter cameras. Having this newfangled equipment, man. You might be able to get an EMF detector if you knew an electrician. If you knew somebody that could get, because that stuff really wasn't sold widely yet. So you had to kind of know somebody in the trades to get your hands on one of those.
Exactly. And, honestly, I kind of miss those days because I have nothing against the equipment we have now, but I think newer investigators rely on them too much.
Yes, I would agree. Our best piece of equipment has always been and always will be our own brains. Our intuition, our us as individuals is still always going to be our best tool.
Yep, I agree. So, so you've been investigating for a while, and what did paranormal investigating look like back then compared to what it looks like now?
Oh man, back then, it was a way. First off, it was nowhere near as accepted as it is today. Today you hear someone that, hey, I'm a ghost hunter or do this or do that. No one bats an eye. And then they looked at you like you were just dropped off from the mothership. You do what? Yeah, I look for ghosts. Really? Because really back then, the only ones really that were of any kind of note were the Warrens. Remember, they were around. Hans Holzer, Brad Steiger, the old forefathers, and they'd release books here and there and stuff like that. But you didn't meet people in your town that were doing it, right? So it was a completely foreign thing to them.
Yeah, yeah, I definitely echo that. So I was born in Western Kentucky, Paducah to be exact. So I tell people that I not only grew up in the Bible Belt, I grew up in the capital of the Bible Belt. We had more churches per capita than we had people, I think. And
Sure.
And I was born with my gifts. I wrote in my book. Aaron G. Thompson did the foreword to my book, but the first chapter when I start writing, I wrote, and I'm going to paraphrase it because I'm not going to quote it. I wrote something like, most kids' first experiences was their first bike, the first Christmas, the first family vacation. Mine was the first time I saw an apparition.
Yeah.
I was 5 years old at my grandparents. So I grew up with all that. And like you said, it wasn't accepted anywhere. It definitely wasn't accepted in Western Kentucky,
Yeah.
And like you said, we didn't have ghost hunters, ghost adventurers, ghost dogs, ghost cats, ghost ex-wives. We didn't have any of that. We had Robert Stack one Friday a month.
Yep.
With Unsolved Mysteries. He did the unexplained. And that's what we had.
Yeah. And then we had sightings.
Yeah, we had sightings. I love sightings, but that was one of those things, I kind of had to sneak into viewing because my parents wasn't going to be watching, but I still watched it, and so, yeah, it was different. And like you said, now you say, oh, I'm a paranormal investigator, or even if I'm just wearing, my team shirt or a location shirt or whatever, they come to me, they're like, oh, you mean like ghost hunters, kind of. And then all of a sudden, they're telling me a story about their grandparents' house and how, and I'm like, so that's definitely, that's a good change. Because like you said, it wasn't accepted. I was actually told by this, when I was 87, my grandmother, I called her my memoir, my dad's mom, she had a stroke, like a major stroke. And we were finally allowed to go visit her. And it was at St. Francis Hospital. And so I'm going to age myself, but you understand this, Joe, because we're in the same age group. I was in the vending machine getting me a Pepsi Free, the red can. Yeah. That's the only Pepsi product I liked. So I was getting me a Pepsi Free, and this 60-some-odd-year-old woman that I had never seen in my life, she looked like Dale Carter from Give Me a Break. She wanders into there and looks at me and tells me I'm a tool of the devil and that I was going to hell.
Wow. Dang, man.
I'm like, who tells that to a 12-year-old kid? So that's so that's the other bit about me. We don't want to talk too bad about me because it's my show. Like, we can talk about me all the time. We're going to talk about you, but I wanted to let you know a little bit about my background. That's why I became an educated investigator. I'm just I'm not just experienced. I do also have a degree in parapsychology and 2 degrees in theology, and then I'm trained in demonology under Bishop Long. So. And that doesn't make me better than anybody. I am a nobody, but I wanted to have that education to help me find answers. So now when somebody tries to tell me, oh, the Bible doesn't say anything about ghosts, I'm like, hold on. I'm like, hold on. I'm like, before we continue this conversation, I want to make sure you realize I'm probably going to make you cry. So do you want to continue this conversation? And that's just like my second book. The one that I'm writing right now, I'm on chapter 7, is entitled, Hold On, You're a Christian and a Paranormal Investigator? How's that work? And that title was actually given to me by Heather Donahue from the Blue Ridge Project. But the foreword is actually written by Rain Kirby. So that's my project. That's my passion project in my book. My first book is actually the one that you can buy now on Amazon. Is a don't buy generic batteries, and it's probably not a demon.
Who's your publisher, by the way?
My first book I self-published. My second book I'm in negotiations with a couple of publishers.
Okay, very cool, very cool.
Yeah. Including Nightmare Press out of Louisville, and because I don't want my second one or my third one to be self-published. So I'm looking. Yeah, my third one is actually my third one is actually entitled "It Takes More Than a Screaming Demon and Wearing Skinny Jeans to Be a Paranormal Investigator."
True enough. True enough.
Yeah, that title already made a few people mad, but that was kind of the purpose.
Sure.
Not that there's any rules, but there should be like a moral compass, I guess. Just because you can do something don't mean you should. My team, our motto is investigate responsibly. And the way I explain that is it's not a rule book. It's basically like I could plant evidence, but should I? I can claim everything a demon, but should I?
Well, integrity is what you do when no one's looking.
Right.
That's integrity.
Yep. So I found an old article. Let me find my place in my notes here. I found an older article about you investigating with your team, and you heard footsteps. And when you heard and you investigated them immediately, and you discovered they were actually another team in the building that was causing the footprints.
Yep. Yeah. That can happen. That can
exactly.
That's why you got to keep your. Nothing's paranormal until proved otherwise. You have to get rid of all the mundane options, and then what you're left with maybe paranormal.
That's exactly how I investigate too. And I don't particularly like the word debunk, but that's the word most commonly used. So I actually made a post on my team's page. I guess it's been 2 weeks ago now, and I used the word that we debunk everything before we. And somebody's like, "That's not debunking." Probably they wanted to quote the Webster Dictionary. I'm like, hold on. I'm like, I use the word debunk because that's the word most people use. But It's like if we're going to try to out-educate me, let's look at the Oxford Dictionary definition. I'm like, I'm not trying to start an argument. I'm not even trying to justify the word debunk. I'm making a point. You have to disprove or prove something before you consider paranormal. That's the point.
It's a high bar to be paranormal. It's a high bar, and you must clear.
Yep. And then going back to equipment, I like to double up on my equipment. So like if my REM pod, for example, gets something, I want my tripwire to go off at the same time. I want that double and so we'll get more on that later. But I mean, we can't skip ahead. It's my podcast. So I can do what I want to. Do you think? I don't even know what category we're in. Oh, now we're in one of my favorite categories. So my word for like the TV. I mean, even me is part of the podcast. I guess it includes me, but definitely like the TV shows, definitely the YouTube sensations and stuff. My word for that is para-pop culture. So, and so that's what we're talking about now is old school versus the para-pop culture. That's what my notes say here. Yay! And just most of my viewers know, but just so you know, I don't have an actual script, but I do have notes. Because if I don't have notes, I will talk forever. Sometimes my podcast used to be known to go 2 or 3 hours, and which okay, I guess that's technically okay now. But back then, I was part of a podcast program, so there was somebody coming on right after me, and so that created an issue back in those days.
Sure.
But now I'm solo, so I can do what I want to. I still try to keep it to an hour, though. I value my guests' time. Okay, you've walked through the transition from analog recorders, film cameras, and VHS to today's digital equipment. Has technology generally made us better investigators, or has it sometimes just given us more things to misinterpret?
Well, there's a double-edged sword here. In some ways, it's made us lazier investigators. I'm not trying to use a broad brush, but that just seems to be the case. Everything now is paranormal. Like, oh, look at the ghost. My lights went off my REM pod. It must be a ghost. Or have they not heard of rogue frequency waves? There's EMF in our atmosphere that's naturally occurring that will make your REM pod go off. Stuff like that. There isn't. I don't want to just sit there and go, wow, these newfangled devices. You know what? A light has never been evidence of a ghost, never will be an evidence of a ghost. I need to get tangible evidence before I can say anything is paranormal, and I need multiple layers of that tangible evidence. I like to have 3 sources of evidence, things that are backing up each other. I particularly don't believe that the REM pod or that kind of stuff, that all has its place, don't get me wrong, but I don't think it should ever be relied upon as your sole evidence.
I think it gives you a place to look.
It's like a compass, right? I mean, it kind of points north, south, east, to west. It kind of gives you a jumping off point, but by no means is it meant to be the end all be all paranormal.
Yeah, I completely agree with that. And what really kills me is like you have some teams and individuals that they think, or at least they sell a REM pod like it's like the end all be all and stuff, but then they don't even do baseline readings. So
that's another good question. Who's calibrating these? How scientifically accurate are they? What are they measuring? At what points are they measuring it? Those are all good questions, because there is no scientific standards or practices in this field. Anybody can do what they want, how they want. There's no sounding board. There's nothing to take back to science because everybody's doing it differently. And science relies on repetition. Science relies on scrutiny. Science relies on a lot of things that, unfortunately, a lot of times we lack as investigators.
That's why we will always be, for the foreseeable future, a pseudoscience.
Yes.
And I honestly attempt to investigate from a scientific standpoint because I want proof one way or the other.
Well, you can't prove a feeling, right? I can't prove a feeling. I can't prove this. I can't prove that. But, I sure can prove it when I have tangible evidence. If I have a negative, I like 35 millimeter. If I could find it, I'll use it. I like having a negative. I like having that physical piece of evidence. There it is. It's on the negative.
I still use a VHS tape.
Yeah. The high 8s from Sony were great. I used to use a lot of those back in the day. It's all great. Anything that's physical, in my opinion, that can leave you rather with evidence is the way to go because it's something to fall back on. That's legit. It's physical. It's there. It's not something digital. That's, because you're kind of at the mercy, like a digital camera is going to take a picture of what it thinks it sees because that's what it's doing. It's taking a picture of what it thinks it sees. It's creating an image based on that. Well, 35 millimeter camera, whatever's there is there. It's going to get imprinted just through the sheer light coming through it.
Right. And that's just like one of the best piece of video evidence I've ever captured in 30 whatever years. I was at the Octagon Hall in Kentucky, and we were down in the basement, which is where they kept their slaves, and we were actually in the library doing a basic EVP session, and something told me to look up. And when I looked up, I saw an apparition pacing in front of the staircase. Usually apparition is there and then it's not. I got 18 seconds of video of this apparition pacing back and forth.
That is truly amazing.
Yeah, 18 seconds is a long time.
That is a long time.
And you can actually, for anybody who wants to see that, you can actually go onto Ken 10 Paranormal's TikTok page, and the video is on there. And but yeah, so just like we were discussing earlier, just true to who I am. As soon as the apparition disappeared, I start trying to disprove it or prove it. I start trying to. I try to figure out if it's headlights. Of course, we're in the middle of nowhere at 2:00 in the morning. There's headlights, so not likely. But you still have to look at that.
You got to do your due diligence and make sure you got to check all the boxes.
Yeah,
before you move on.
And then I couldn't disprove it, but I still 18 seconds is a long time. So
that is a long time.
the very next weekend, one of my good friends in the field, her team was going to the location, so I forwarded her the video and told her see if she could disprove it. And,
Yeah.
and then she couldn't disprove it, so it made it to my evidence board.
Yeah. Yep.
And,
Yeah. It's always good to have a second or third or fifth set of eyes looking at it. I'm good friends with scientists that are absolute skeptics, and I use them as my sounding board. And if I can get them to go at least scratch their head, I know I got something.
do you think TV? Do you think television created more unrealistic expectations about how often investigators actually capture evidence?
You know, when I was a kid, I used to love watch. Remember those fishing shows that used to be on? They were big back in the day, 90s and 80s. Remember there's one big fisherman. I don't know, you might remember, maybe you won't really. Roland Martin. Remember him?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if you remember him. They only showed Roland catching the biggest fish. They never showed the hours of fishing involved. They only showed the highlight reel. Well, we got kind of that going on with paranormal television too. They're not going to show you the hours of nothing happening in a location. They're only going to show you the highlights, or they're going to sensationalize it, or it all depends on the editing process when they're done. I've been on TV a few different times, a few different programs, and it's definitely comes down to the editing. It comes down to a lot of factors. I, however, don't believe that anyone should take a paranormal television show as a training guide.
I agree. I agree. I've actually had people. So Ken 10 Paranormal, that's my team, Kentucky, Tennessee Paranormal, Ken 10. And we're a relatively large team. We have 8 active members, the total of 13 members. It's a relatively large team. But you still can't just be like, oh, I want to be an investigator. It doesn't work that way with us. But the process is I interview you. And if I think you're a good fit, then you come to our next monthly team meeting. Yes, we do monthly team meetings. So you come to our next monthly team meeting, and then you get introduced to orientation. And one of the questions when I'm talking to somebody, of course, is what made you interested in the paranormal? And I get ghost hunters,
Yeah.
I get that answer a lot. And I'm like, yeah, okay. But you do realize that's not how it really is. And then part of our orientation is actually paranormal investigation is like fishing. You may be there hours and get nothing, but when you do get something, you're rewarding. But and then going back to, I'm not anti making money, but I am anti not showing the reality of it. But even going back to ghost hunters. In the beginning, it was pretty okay. It was pretty okay. But what people have to understand is that we saw 45 minutes out of a 3-day investigation.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah. It takes many, many, many hours of footage to get that 45 minutes
right
of
like
actual showable film.
I've been doing this for 30 some odd years. We both have. And, I have probably 12 EVPs that I actually count as, hey, I got something.
Yeah.
And, and that's what people miss. I got quite a bit in the, well, maybe locker, but in the actual, I got something, I probably got 12. And I've investigated over 600 locations. So, take that for what it's worth.
Right. Because pareidolia is a thing, and it trips a lot of people up.
But one of my good friends, he actually wrote a book. He wrote several books. One of his books is, I can't remember the exact title, but it's about our mind making the haunting itself instead of the place actually being haunted. We just believe it is.
Yeah. There's some scientific fact to that too. How we're perceiving it. Is it our mind's eye? Is it us that maybe we're haunting ourselves? There's a lot of science that goes behind that. I've written a few books myself. Yep.
Yeah, me too. Yeah. But I'll be honest, when the first book came because this one team that we collaborate with a lot, every time we collaborate with them, one of the members was like, can't you need to write a book? Can't you need to write a book? But my comment to that was, I don't even read books. Why do I want to write one? But 2 years later, we have a book now.
That's how it works.
And for the record, I do read some books. It's just few and far between. And yes, 9 out of 10 books that I read are paranormal by people that I like and I respect. And then the other one is usually Stephen King. So take that for what it's worth.
I hear you. I hear you. I wrote my first book during the pandemic. I was just kind of sitting around. A lot of what I do is getting out and about and speaking at conferences and stuff like that. So not a lot going on. So I started doing that. And so what am I on, book number 6 or 7? I can't remember anymore. My publishing company is Foundation Publishing. And I have an agent that takes care of all that end of stuff for me. I'm blessed that way. I have an agent that takes care of all the heavy lifting as far as getting the deals done and everything else. So I just got to write the books.
I got an agent, and I pretty well represent myself. Not because she's not a good agent, but because she's up there in Wisconsin. No, Wisconsin. She's up there like Massachusetts, and I'm way down here in Kentucky, and she's got like 30 clients. So I'm not.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Nothing against her. She's good. I mean, it's just, I'm a small fish in a big pond, I guess. She did make the comment. She's like, I made that comment. I was welcoming a new person to your family, and she's like, don't say that. She's like, you're building your own little empire in Western Kentucky. I'm like, there's no empire down here.
What if I can ask? What's her first name? Your agent.
Asia.
Okay. I'm not familiar with her.
She's relatively new.
Okay.
She's only been managing a couple of years. She got into it when she became Father Bob Bailey's agent, and then it kind of went from there.
Oh, very cool. Very cool.
Dr. Bill Sliver, and now she's got like a bunch of people.
Sure.
Yeah, and that's okay. I've always kind of represented myself, I mean, I do okay. I got the podcast, I got the books. I do a Paracon in Western Kentucky every year. I don't call it a Paracon. I call it because some Paracons have got bad reps lately. So
they have.
I call it a West Kentucky Paranormal Expo.
Well, if you ever need a speaker, let me know. I'd be happy.
That's what I was going to ask you. We'll talk about this off air, but I was going to ask if you travel this far down. And
no, absolutely, I do.
So what off air we'll discuss like travel costs and speaking fees and all that stuff.
Yeah.
Because next year, this is the second time I've announced this out loud, and the first time on my show. So everybody out there, you got to keep it secret. Shh. Next year we're moving. Next year we're moving to Paducah, which is the biggest city around us. And next year is year 5, and next year we're going really big. And from next year on, we're going big. Like next year we got Daryl Munson as our headline speaker, and we've also coordinated like other events. Like we're going to do an actual investigation, and we're going to have a VIP dinner at a haunted location.
Man, that sounds like a great thing to be a part of. It sounds like a lot of fun.
So we'll discuss that off air.
Yeah, absolutely.
But yeah, I'm definitely interested. I will say that. Because the go, and this is the last thing I'll say about it. Besides the date, it's always the last Saturday of September because it's National Ghost Hunting Day. And other than that, the purpose of my expo is to actually educate the public and to,
And that's what it's all about, man, is, educating the public and then being there for each other, promote what they keep talking about, paranormal unity, you know what I mean? At least, I try to promote that, I like everybody. I get along with everybody. I don't have a problem with anyone. But, I do have a problem with people that are closed-minded or that won't even consider that their evidence isn't evidence, that won't take that second step to have it scrutinized by a third party, stuff like that. That kind of stuff, that's ego. And because if you're truly interested in the paranormal, the health of the paranormal, furthering the field of the paranormal, you will check every box it takes to make sure that you act with integrity and that your evidence is top notch. And because, it only takes a couple fakers to turn it into a laughing stock, where no one, AI is a powerful tool these days. I
It
mean,
is.
my gosh. And so if I like to avoid the AI bug, because I know a lot of investigators are starting to turn to AI because there's AI tools out there that help them investigate allegedly. I like to use my own two eyes. Yeah, I mean, use my own senses, my own two eyes when I scrutinize my evidence. I don't like to leave it to a computer to find that in the picture.
I will use AI to, if I need like a picture, a graphic for a post.
There you go. Yep. It
But,
has its place. It has its place. I just don't think it has any place scrutinizing evidence.
right.
AI.
And well, yeah, I don't either. I don't think, yeah, because I mean, we have AI cameras now. You talking about digital cameras. Now you got
Yep.
AI, you got digital cameras with AI technology. And I was on an investigation, and it wasn't my camera. But we were investigating with a few other teams, and one of the team members took a picture, and AI detected something, an aberration behind me, which I mean, okay, but instead of just like highlighting it, they actually change like the whole picture. They actually make it where you can obviously see it, and then
Right.
I don't even
Right.
actually look like myself, and then
Yeah.
I'm like, what is this? So yeah. I mean, that's just like that's just like apps, phone apps. I'm not anti-phone app. I don't use them, but I'm not anti. I understand that your phones nowadays are basically mini computers. So if somebody programs it correctly, and that's a big if.
That's right. You're left to the prey of the programmer.
Yeah,
Yeah, I mean, what are the parameters of that program? What's it going to be
right,
picking up? So yeah, all that stuff. I mean, when I do speeches, when I talk, I begin with old school, work my way up to the new school, but I'm also respectful of both sides, because
right,
they both equally have their place. But you also got to understand where we came from to understand where we're going.
exactly.
You,
I
you
tell
know,
people, my investigation style is a hybrid. I, I do the old school techniques with the new school technology.
yep.
You got to combine them both. And then I am a skeptic by birth. Not obviously I'm not skeptical in paranormal but I mean I'm one of those people that always questions everything.
You gotta
I,
question it, and you gotta be your heart. You have to be your own hardest critic on your evidence too. I mean, you got because your integrity and your name, it means everything.
right,
If you
and
don't have the credibility, you don't have anything.
yeah, and one thing in this field is we have some of these people who think they're more important than they are. They want to judge everybody by their past. Everybody has a past.
Yeah,
It's what you do after that. And I'm not dismissing everything. If you're doing stuff with kids you shouldn't be to, I'm not giving you forgiveness. But
yeah.
If it's something
I get it. I get exactly where you're going with that.
yeah,
I mean, because people do change. And
yeah,
and circumstances change. And no one changes unless you let them change.
right. I don't know why I feel like sharing this at this time, and I guess I'm going to share it anyway. My childhood was not Disneyland. I came from an abusive, addiction-driven childhood, and so that actually made me who I was until believe it or not, it took me till I was about 40 to figure out, my mind's not right, and I finally got the help. So.
But let me stop you right there. It gave you that keen instinct to help others because
It
you know
did.
what they're going through.
It
So, I
did.
mean, sometimes you have to walk that path to understand what they're
Yeah.
going through.
Yeah. Exactly.
And so, hey, man, that gives you a better insight.
Yeah. I do have one person who still has a problem with me. They want to use my past. I'm like, you haven't even asked me the questions to find out what the truth of my past is. You just, you just found something in the police report and you're like running with it. There's circumstances to people. My thing is, most people easily forgive the addict and the alcoholic, but they forget about how it affects the other people.
Yeah.
That's all I'm saying.
Yep. I agree with you. Absolutely.
Yeah. So anyway, I'm still here. I'm still whooping. I'm still kicking ass. So I ain't going nowhere. Yeah. Interesting though. I will be in the same Paracon as this person in October. So we'll see how that goes.
Well, hopefully you guys can come to a common ground understanding.
I hope so. I mean,
You
he
know?
did say I was still a good person, but he had to separate me from that stuff. I'm like, well, I want to separate myself from that stuff. What are you
Well, a
talking about?
lot of it is jealousy, though. You know, a
is.
lot of that stuff is jealousy. I mean, well, look what we're going on in the paranormal right now with high-profile people bashing other high-profile people. There seems to be this paranormal hierarchy that's been existing for many, many years. You got the same speakers doing the same circuit of the same paragon cons for the last 20 years, right?
Right.
They don't bring anything new to the table, and so I
And
find
then you got some people want to charge $10,000.
right. That's just insanity.
I'm like, oh,
insanity.
You idiot. I was like, if I pay you $10,000, are you going to make me $10,000?
There you go. There you go.
Yeah. And, and I'm not even saying anything against the person I'm talking about, because the person I talk about, I love. One of my favorite paranormal books was written by him. He's one of my favorite, and he's actually going to come on the podcast. But when it came to, let's talk about the expo, he's like, you got to talk to my agents.
Oh boy,
agents.
Yeah.
And then when I talked to his first agent, he's like, well, tell me how much you were thinking. I'm like, no, you tell me how much.
Yeah, right. Like personally, I represent myself when it comes to appearances. I don't have an agent for that, and nor do I want to. I like to talk to the people one-on-one. You know what I mean? Get me there, buy me lunch. That's good.
Well, I can get you here, get you a hotel room, get you a VIP dinner with Daryl, and an investigation.
Because nobody is important enough, that important, in my opinion.
No, maybe 10 years ago when the TV shows were so popular, they could draw. But, it's not those days anymore, And the thing is, and I'm not saying this bragging at all, I'm saying this to prove the point you made earlier. Some people think there's a totem pole and they're supposed to be higher. Out of the 4 years that I've done my expo, I've paid 2 speakers. The rest came because they were my friends, and even the ones that did charge me gave me a big discount because of my friends. And I'm not saying I've had like nobodies. Like this year, my headline speaker is Aaron G. Thompson, outlaw paranormal,
Sure.
So we're not talking about me speaking, but I am speaking on Halloween. If anybody wants to come see me, it will be my first time speaking since my brain surgery. I lost 3 years of investigating, and I've been back investigating for 5 years, but I haven't spoken at a convention yet.
Yeah. Well, you know what? I'm looking forward to hearing you speak, man. You do your thing. I think you're gonna do wonderful.
Yeah. Well, I've developed a new theory, and that's what I'm going to be speaking on. I've developed a new theory to kind of explain like hauntings at cemeteries and like haunted objects, things that we can't explain. I call it the resonant energy theory. And basically, I'm not going to go into the full detail, but the basis of it is, especially take like a cemetery. There's no reason for a cemetery to be haunted. Nobody died there. Nobody lived there. So, but what you have is the family coming, and the family's grieving, sometimes celebrating, and so all their emotions keep going there. And of course they're giving like personal information and all that stuff. So eventually all that energy is transferred. So at what point does that energy become an entity of its own?
That's true. And also can go into thought forms too. Yeah, I mean, because we can make our own ghosts.
Yep, definitely. Definitely. And and in this field we should always be learning. If we're not learning,
that's right. You got to push that envelope. The second we stop pushing it, it gets stagnant, and we stop moving forward, and we're no closer to finding what we all want to know. What happens? Is there life after death? Do we keep going? That's ultimately the question we're all trying to get answered, but sometimes ego gets in the way, and, stuff like that gets in the way. My team is better than your team gets in the way. No, we all should be working together, man. You know what I mean? Because we're all looking for that same answer to that same question.
Exactly. I try not to use pair unity because pair unity has become a joke. Partially because there's not a true definition of pair unity. But I think we do have to all work together, and I will work with anybody unless you're faking stuff.
That's right. Yeah, no, totally get it. It's fun going to these conferences, and it sounds like, man, you put on a heck of a good conference. I put the last 7 years, I also do Bigfoot research. So I put a Bigfoot conference on. That's been a lot of fun. I enjoy doing that research out in the wilderness and stuff. But I know what you mean. It's these conferences, normally a good conference is just a big community coming together, enjoying each other's company, and talking about theory, talking about other things. It should be camaraderie. It should be a place to come to find like-minded people.
I tell people that we have to have the public when we do these events, because that's how we don't lose money. But when it comes to at my event, I'll let teams come for free. Like if a location wants to come, I'll let them come for free. Because for us, it really is a conference. We're coming to hang out. We're coming to learn from each other, and that's what it's supposed to be about. Last year was my first year that I got to be a special guest at Smoky Mountain Terror. And Smoky Mountain Terror is a horror convention, and they throw a bone to the paranormal. There's five teams that get to be there, and then they do a headliner. Last year's headliner was one of these young teams that run around in the tight jeans and scream everything. And scream everything's a demon, but they're highly popular. Well, they have to right beside me. Well, me being me and not caring, I noticed that they were charging $50 for a picture.
That's crazy, isn't it?
Not even autographed.
Yeah,
not even autographed.
Nuts.
So I walk over there in front of all the line. They probably had 100 people in line. I walk in front of the whole line, and I call them out on it.
Right? Yeah.
Because I don't care.
Yes. I never agreed with that. Take the whole paid money to take a picture thing. I get it. You got to make your money. I get that. But at the same time,
they were already getting paid for being there. They were the headliner.
Oh, dang. Yeah. So they're already making money. Yeah. That's just greed,
And the guy looked at me. He's like, "That's fair." So then while I had his attention, I called him out for filming with Sam and Kobe. And then, and other things. I mean, they ended up being cool, but they still overcharged. That was my point. And, But everything works out because the organizer said they would not be ordered, they would not be invited back. Apparently, their talk did not go very well. This year, I guess, sit beside Jack Osborne, so I guess that's an improvement.
There you go. He's a nice guy. I've interviewed him a few times.
I've talked to him. I'm trying to get him to come on the podcast, but he's a busy man,
Yeah, they are. They're all very busy, aren't they?
And I'm actually booked all the way through next June.
For your podcast? Wow.
Yes, sir.
That's pretty good, man. That's very good. I'm thankfully you could slip me in between.
Yeah. Well, I was really worried. I used to be part of the Get Hunted podcast program, and then they folded the podcast program because they wasn't getting the return on it. I understand that.
Yeah.
And then my thing was, what does that leave me?
Yeah.
And I've actually done better on my own. I'm actually now on every format, every podcast format.
Awesome. Sounds good, man. That's awesome. I work for iHeartRadio. That's who does mine. I'm on iHeart. I'm on Amazon. I'm on Apple. I'm on everything. So that's exciting. Yeah.
So anyway, speed round. Are you ready for the speed round? Here we go.
Yeah, let's do the speed round, man. Lay it on me.
So these are 10 questions we ask every guest. Some may fit you perfectly, some may not. But they are part of the fun. Some are fun, some are serious. Here we go. Go-to investigation snack.
Oh man. It used to be the Red Bull and stuff like snack wise. I think just like a Slim Jim, something light, I mean, just something to keep the stomach from wanting to growl because you don't want stomach demons going on. I guess like a Slim Jim, something, lots of protein in it. I like that. I guess meat sticks. That's my go-to.
I made the switch to protein bars. They have a Reese's one now. It tastes just like Reese's. Yeah.
Really?
Yeah. I'll send you the.
Do that. I gotta check that out.
Yeah, because obviously no Taco Bell, no gas station pizza before investigation.
No.
Haunted dolls, fact or fiction?
Oh boy, you hit me with a loaded one, huh? In my personal opinion, there sure is a lot of haunted dolls out there. Number one. They seem to be around every block. I don't necessarily subscribe to the haunted doll theory myself. I don't want to say I'm an absolute never, because obviously it can happen, I guess. But I'm going to say a large portion of them are embellished, the haunted dolls.
Remind me, after we get done with the speed round, to tell you my favorite haunted doll story. It's an interesting one. But I agree with you for the most part. Coffee or energy drink?
Coffee, black.
Yes, my man. I knew I liked you. If you could investigate with anyone, living or deceased, who would it be?
Harry Price.
Ouija board, game, tool, or portal?
I think it's definitely not a game. I think I don't even think it really is a tool, in my opinion. Again, because the planchette's not evidence. I mean, so you get something moving. I think it's a cautionary tale. Stay out of it. I think you could run into some big problems with the Ouija board if you don't know what you're doing. So I think it could be a portal.
I don't disagree with that. But before we get to my favorite door story, remind me to tell you about my first Ouija board experience. Was
it a sleepover with your best friend?
It was a sleepover. It was a sweet 16 birthday party with my youth leader's adopted daughter.
Oh boy, it sounds spicy already.
Yeah,
me and her and a Ouija board.
Yeah. Well, I was 13, she was 16, and I was the only boy invited.
Oh, so you were a good boy, is what you're saying?
Yeah, no. Definitely not.
You were the trusted boy. You can invite him. He's fine. Don't worry about that.
Trailer park kid over there. So bucket list location.
I've had the opportunity because of my work in radio to go to a lot of great locations. I just wrote a book. It's gonna be coming out soon. The Ultimate Midwest Paranormal Road Trip Guide is coming out. And I actually had to narrow it down to 50 locations, which was rough to do because there's so many great ones. But I think if I had a bucket list place that really no one really investigates or really maybe should, God, I know this might get me some hate and it might get people angry at me, but the concentration camps. I mean, just so maybe you can give them some closure. Maybe they can be heard. Stuff like that. Not for the glamorous reasons of great evidence, but more to help them.
Right.
Yeah,
I mean, I think that's good. That's like we actually have it's a seed mill. It's been closed down forever, but it was actually built by World War II POWs from Yugoslavia.
Oh yeah, that's right. Because we used to have internment camps right here in the States.
No, we didn't. No, we didn't. But yeah. So anyway, the seed mill has remained in that condition. The first we got investigated 3 times, twice by ourselves and once with Gavin Kelly. And when we investigated by ourselves was my favorite time because I could control the investigation. So I was down in the tunnels, which is where they transported and punished the prisoners. And we actually got on the EVP while I was doing a solo session. We didn't hear it during the investigation. It was on, but we went back and listened to the
Wow,
audio.
that's amazing, though. You know,
we actually got German, and I speak enough German because I was stationed in Germany. That what it said is, "Why are you here?"
Wow,
And
dang.
And yes, you can go to a TikTok page and listen to that too, so you can make up your own mind and not listen to me. So yeah, and then
that is cool.
And then one of the places I would like to investigate is we had a huge tornado come through Mayfield and destroy all of it, and a lot of it. And then one of the places that we had 6 people killed was the candle factory that they had. The candle factory would not let the people go home, and so the candle factory is no longer there, but the field is.
Yeah.
And I would like to investigate there in a few years. I want to give it some time. It's only been 5 years.
Yeah, that was fairly recent, wasn't it? Yeah, that wasn't that long ago.
Yep. So I totally get that. So my bucket list locations, I'm actually going to knock 3 out of the 4 off my list by February.
Okay, very cool.
So I'm doing the Hinsdale House in November.
Mm-hmm.
I'm doing Randolph County Asylum in January for my birthday. And you're welcome to join me for that. My birthday investigation is a friends and family event. It's not even a team event.
Oh, very cool.
And I just invite my friends. So you're definitely welcome to come to that one.
Oh yeah, that'd be awesome.
January 23rd, and then in February I'm going to the Crescent Hotel and Spa.
Man, you got a full plate of investigations.
And then that leaves Pinhurst, which I'll probably never get that one, but that's okay.
Yeah.
I've investigated enough places. If I don't get to one, it'll be okay.
Yep. I hear you.
I'm the guy that's actually been to Waverly Hills a dozen times. I mean, most people can't claim that because it's only a 3-hour drive.
Yeah.
Okay, so demons, fact or fiction?
Well, I think they're out there, obviously, but not. I mean, I don't think they're around every corner. Like, some of the programs like to show it. Like, there's one investigator that seems to get possessed every show. So I think that they're obviously something out there to be aware of, but I don't think that they're as prevalent as some of the media would like you to believe.
Less than 1%.
Yep. And again, a lot of times you have to invite them in. It's not like, boom, I'm a demon, here I am. It's something that you've done.
Exactly.
Something that you've consciously done to do that.
Exactly. I love that you said that because obviously demonology is a passion for me. That's why I went through training on it. I actually wrote an article in Hickson magazine that debuted this month. I actually have 2 articles in it, but one of it is demonology, a theory older than Christianity, because it actually goes back to Aztecs and all that stuff. So, that's one of the things people miss. It's not like you see on TV or movies. They have to be invited. Yep. So I think that's a good distinction. Protection or no protection?
Protection. Personal empowerment and that. All the things that everybody always says. But I also have a strong faith in the Lord. So, I always pray to God to keep me protected. Have my back. And He always does. So, that's always worked for me.
We do, before we go into an investigation, we do a prayer of protection and communication. Yep. And then before we leave, we do a prayer of detachment. Yep. And that the spirits know that they can't go with us.
Yeah.
And they can't attach their equipment or any of that fun stuff.
Right.
Yeah. Because that's the thing. When I got back into this 5 years ago after my brain surgery and stuff, my wife looked at me and she's like, I know you're going to start doing it again. She's like, but you cannot bring anything home.
Yeah. That's a good word of advice. Try not to bring anything home with you because it's not always fun for the people around you.
I had an investigator on my team, and she always wanted to bring something home. And I'm like, you don't even know what you're bringing home.
Right.
She's like, well, it's a kid. I'm like, it presents itself as a kid, but that doesn't mean it's a kid.
Well, you know what? Getting back to Ouija boards really quick. That's the same thing with the Ouija board. Hello, does anyone want to speak? I mean, you're asking every Tom, Dick, and Harry out there if they want to come talk to you. You don't know what you're getting.
Right.
And you don't think a ghost will lie to you because they got nothing but time, or they're a prankster, they're doing this or doing that. They're going to lie to you. I mean, that's just what they do. I mean,
yeah, especially if it's a demon. I'm a demon.
Right? They're not under
forever.
oath.
Yeah,
They're not under oath in front of God and court to tell you the truth. I mean,
right.
hell yeah, we'll talk to you.
This is your grandmother.
Right.
Yeah.
This is Grandma. How you doing, Grandma? And that's all it takes. That's all it takes. I tell people,
we still do residential cases. I know a lot of teams don't, but we still do residential cases.
Oh yeah.
Because to me, if you're not in the field to help people, you're in the field for the wrong reason. So
yeah, exactly.
So when we're doing residential cases, a lot of times, we get, can you communicate with my husband or my? Mm-hmm. I'm a medium. I don't like using that word. I have gifts. That's what I tell people. I have gifts, but it doesn't work that way. Whoever chooses to talk to me is who talks to me. I'm like, and honestly, you don't want me to talk to your mom or I'm like, you want them to have crossed over. That's what you want.
You don't want to think that Grandma's earthbound. Right. I mean, you want to. That's the last thing you really want. Is,
exactly. Last speed round question. Are you ready?
Sure. Let's do it, man.
What is your playlist on your way to the investigation?
Oh boy, that it kind of varies. Being a radio guy, I kind of like a little bit of everything. It all depends. I can get down a little Metallica if I want to get myself hyped up. A little Megadeth, stuff like that. If it's going to be more of like a helping someone in their home investigation, I tend to put on uplifting music, get my frequency up, get my white light up to help them. You know what I mean? So it kind of varies on the situation. Like if I'm just going to a pay to play place, like everybody and their mother's been through there, and it's just someone owns it and everyone's been. I'll throw a little Metallica on, throw a little Judas on, stuff like that. So, but like I said, if I'm helping people, I want to raise that good energy, that good vibe, that good vibrations. So when I go in there, I'm not doom and gloom, so I'll put on something more uplifting. Heck, even Christian music. I can get down some really good gospel music too. That really raises things.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. Yeah. I'm the same way. So if I'm going to a pay to investigate place, it's going to be probably a combination of 80s hair band.
There you go, a little Def Leppard.
Yeah, and then we're definitely going to have License to Ill. The whole city.
The whole city. A little Sabotage going on in the background. Yep.
And then if I'm doing a residential investigation, I usually go. Yeah, I usually go Toby Mac.
Yeah.
Skillet. Something like that. And I'm like you. My playlist goes anywhere from everything except for opera.
I
will, and I mean that's legitimately. I mean, I could. I was talking to my high school sweetheart, because we're still best friends. So that tells you how important the relationship was. I was talking to her the other day, and one of the biggest obstacles in our relationship, we started dating when I was 13 and she was 12, and we dated till I was 19 and she was 18. So this wasn't like a little.
Wow, that's a long time. Yeah, in kid years, that was an eternity.
And Bosnia was pretty much the end of our relationship, but that's beside the point. So, but we were discussing, and the biggest obstacle at the beginning was New Kids on the Block.
Yeah, I'm not a big New Kid fan.
No redeeming qualities. Redeeming qualities.
No.
So that was our biggest. So I mean, but that just shows you, and I've actually thought about doing a YouTube channel where the whole purpose of it is I introduce my kids to my music and get their reaction.
Get their first reaction to hearing some of that stuff. Yeah. I'll guarantee you our music is much better than their music.
Oh, definitely. Now it's a beat, and I'm listening to, and my youngest kid and my only daughter is getting ready to turn 17. So I always did the father-daughter dances and all that stuff with her.
Sure.
And and because I was teaching her how boys should treat her,
Yeah.
and
Yep.
because yes, I broke the cycle of the alcohol in my house. My kids never had to worry about being hit or if they were going to
Good
eat.
for you, man. Good for you breaking that cycle.
And,
That's powerful stuff.
I'm sure they've seen the damage it's done to me, but they never had to experience it.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
So,
we all want better for our kids, right? So I mean,
right, exactly.
And it sounds like you've provided better. Good for you.
So I took her to the dances and all that stuff. And matter of fact, her last one, I actually went full out prom and went into the tuxedo, the limousine, everything. And so anyway, so we get there and we start playing these music, and we got like Willow, Will Smith's daughter, whip my hair around. I'm like, that's not music. I'm like, what's the point in that? But anyway, okay. So Ouija board. Here's the story. So I was very religiously about attending church. Now, now note, I'm not going to say I did it for the right reason, but it was my safe place. It was a place where I could be a teenager,
Yeah.
because my youth group was the first youth group in Paducah, which is a relatively big city, especially in the area. They had a youth group like we see now. Back in the 80s and stuff, some youth groups were still just open up your Bibles, and then you had the modern ones with basketball, pizza, worship music.
Sure.
So that's what we were. And so yeah. So pre-Amy, which my youth pastor's adopted daughter, she was a little troublemaker. And nowadays we would call her a goth, but they didn't have that word in '87. But that's what she would be today.
Yep.
But she was hot. I'm talking about like Alyssa Milano. Hot.
Yeah.
And so I got invited. I got invited to her sweet 16th birthday at the Executive Inn at the swim pool. Do you think 13-year-old Kent said no?
The only boy there too. Don't forget that point. You said that earlier. The only boy there.
And if you ever seen a picture of me when I was 13, I'll send you a picture after the show. I had wavy blonde hair. I basically looked like Zach Morris without a dye job.
Oh boy, here we go. Wow, look at that.
And
Saved by the Bell meets Melissa Milano. I mean,
yeah. So we played with the Ouija board, not really much, and which I was always surprised with because I already had the energy,
Yeah.
But it did take a dark turn because we played a game, and I remember it. I would never forget it because it's the only time in my 52 years I was scared. Well, besides Bosnia and Afghanistan, but that's different. I mean, that goes without saying, I think. And because I was a combat medic, so I saw things we don't want to talk about. And so the game was called 13 Doors and 13 Ladders.
Sure.
And the only thing I can really remember about it is you laid head to head, foot to foot to make like a house or whatever indoors. And then you knocked on a door, and whoever was there was there. And my door was not answered by a very positive entity. And
that scared the hell out of me as a kid.
I was 13. I was a teenager. I was scared. But I was also there with 6 girls. So,
gotta be tough guy, man. When those girls watching.
And I was cool. But I was scared. I did end the game immediately. I was like, I'm done. And but yeah, so that's my Ouija board story. Here's my door story. So a place I like to investigate, a place that I would like for you to come down and investigate with me. We could do it just me and you if you wanted to.
That'd be awesome.
It's in Southeast Missouri in what I call the haunted heartland. And it's called Brooks Estate. When we started investigating Brooks Estate, we did not know the history. We just knew it was crazy active. Now we know a lot of the history. We know that there was 13 deaths there.
Wow.
And we know there's a mysterious figure called the Man in the Hat. And he's actually in court on motion detectors walking past the house, and you can actually see him. You see through him, but you actually see him walking.
You're not talking about the Hat Man of infamous Shadow Person fame, are you?
It may be. I mean, it's similar. I'm not going to say it's the same.
You know what I'm talking about.
Yes, I know exactly what you're doing.
Yeah,
That's what I'm saying. Yeah, and I'm still. That's what I'm saying. I'm still gathering evidence. Like I'm going back in. Like I'm going back in December, and then when me and you can figure out when we can go back, we'll go back. And, and I'm trying to get Kenneth Drake to go with me. That way I can get a medium. And so yeah. So it's been an interesting place. So this other team is no longer allowed there. They've been banned from several locations because their whole goal in investigating is they want to be TV stars.
Oh yeah, one of them. Yep. There's always one group around that wants to do that.
So they try to. When they first got in, I tried to help them because their guy like me was also a combat veteran. So I tried to help him, but then it became obvious that he wanted to. He doesn't even want to be a TV star. He wants to be a producer.
Oh wow! He really wants.
Then he started. I know exactly what San Francisco County is. Matt, my family is actually from Keller, Illinois. So that tells you how much I know about Southeast Missouri. So the first thing they did is they tried to take over booking and scheduling from the owners of the place.
Jeez, yeah.
And then the next thing they did is they traveled to upstate New York and bought this door that supposedly had attachments to a location that already has activity.
Wow, that's just a recipe for disaster.
Yeah, so there's a door there now. Her name is Baby. Simple name. Her name is Baby, and she sits in the rocking chair. And apparently, of my team, I'm the only one that would talk to her. And I did a solo session with her one time, and she set off the REM pod and the geophone at the same time.
So you had some activity with that doll.
Yeah. But set off the geophone is not a piece of equipment that goes off very easily. In 30 years, well, I've had it for 15 years, and in 15 years of investigating, I've seen it go off twice.
Yeah. That the geophones don't get off that very often. I like to get the Tri-Field Natural meter. Yeah. That to me is still my go-to because it doesn't measure human activity at all. It ignores human activity, and so when that goes off, that means something's definitely going on. But what we don't know, but at least
it's our job to find out. That's our job.
That's right. It's that roadmap. There we are again to the roadmap. It's pointing in a direction for me.
At that time, I was using the Paratech VM5. I've never been an Ovilus fan. An Ovilus is just an app in a fancy box.
Yeah, so
after the three, 3 was fine, 2 was fine, 1 was fine.
I've never been a fan of them really because the Ovilus one, they handed me one time to try it, which I don't mind trying new stuff. Heck, I'll try it all. But it's so, it has a randomized voice generator. It's really what it is. I mean, it's all it really is.
It's a word bot. It's a word bank.
Yeah, I have a hard time putting my faith in it. I mean, other people, they love them, and God bless them. But me, I'm just not that guy. I'm the
same way. And I do like the VM5. I used it. I used it for 5 years. I no longer use it because the battery life is now 15 minutes. Yeah. 15-minute battery life does not help me during an investigation.
No.
I've actually, the next investigation I do is September 5th. I'm investigating a couple of locations in Cairo, and I'm actually going to test the portrait script because I got that now and see how that works. Because I'm still not using Ovilus, so I don't care what it mentions. And so anyway, back to the thing. So I'm sitting there, the geophone goes off, the REM pod goes off, and then on the Paratech, I'm behind you. Well, the rest of the team is in the next room, which is the living room, because they won't talk to the door. Something tells Savannah to take a picture. So she takes a picture. She didn't know that I'm behind you, and I didn't know she was taking a picture. But when we did a 15-minute break, before we continued investigating, we were comparing evidence, and when she took the picture, you could see an apparition behind me.
Wow. Dang.
And
That
you
is
can
pretty awesome.
and you can see that on TikTok too.
Yeah, I'll be checking out your TikTok.
And
You got a lot of great stuff.
yeah. Well, when I post it, you'll appreciate this, Joe. When I post my stuff on TikTok, I post it as I'm not telling you this is paranormal. I'm telling you what happened, and you can determine on your own.
Yeah, I like that. You're not leading the audience at all. You're saying, hey, take from it what you will. Take a look at it and make your own conclusions.
So here's your last two questions, and then we'll sign off, and we can talk about other stuff.
Sure.
So these are my signature questions. These are the questions I ask everybody because they're important questions. So you ready? The first one is, how do you think the parapop culture has affected the field, both positively and negatively?
Well, I think in some ways it's brought a lot of people that had no business investigating the paranormal to the paranormal in some ways. It's that double-edged sword thing, right? It brought a lot of people in that found ghost hunters, and it's like, oh my God, I want to go do that. That looks so much fun. Without having a shred of any kind of scientific knowledge, they just run around. And I don't mind that whatever, you want to scare yourself in a cemetery or do this or do that. But when you start investigating private homes and you leave it tenfold worse than what you found it, that's when we start having a problem. If you want to run around on your own dime and go to these haunted locations that you pay to get into, run around, knock your socks off, get scared, do your thing. That's what it's there for. But again, you go into someone's home that's trusting you to help them because they're at their wit's end, and you leave it tenfold worse when you leave. That's where the problem begins. That's where the parapop has brought people in that should not be in, not because they're not good people, but they didn't get the training they needed to deal with those delicate situations.
I mean, I agree with that. Case file. The same team that I talked about at East Prairie at Brooks Estate, they decided they're based out of Cape Girardeau. So Matt, you know what I'm talking about. They're based out of Cape Girardeau. They decided that they were going to do a residential case,
which are always the hardest ones by far.
Yep. So they decided that they were going to do a residential case in Memphis for a reason. So we're talking about this is like a 4-hour drive.
Yeah.
And so they get there, and the house belongs to like an 83-year-old lady and her husband.
Oh man.
And they get there, and he ends up telling this lady that she has 3 portals and 5 demons, and there was nothing he could do about it. Now, how do I know this? Because this lady comes on my podcast and starts over here, talking about it while I'm interviewing who my guest is at the time. And, finally I'm like, talk to me afterwards. She's like, I'm like, here's my contact information. Because Memphis for me is only an hour and a half.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
that's pretty much your neighborhood.
Yeah.
You're right there.
Yeah. Yeah. I was like, so yeah, I'm like, you don't tell that 83-year-old lady that she has 5 demons and 3 portals. That's irresponsible.
No. Yeah, that's definitely irresponsible. And if you're above your head, recognize it really quickly you are and get help for them. Yeah. Pass it off to somebody that's got more experience, that come in there before you make a mess, before you start screwing around and make it tenfold worse. Contact someone else that maybe has more expertise in that area than you do. And there's no shame in saying, I can't help you. There's no shame in saying, hey, I need to hand this off to somebody else. There's just no shame, and they'll appreciate you, and you're going to get better feedback that way and get a better name that way because you were able to say, hey, you know what? I'm not experienced enough to deal with this, but I'm going to get you someone that is. They're going to appreciate that, and they're going to sing your praises. Hey, they helped us find somebody that helped us.
Exactly. That's what it's about. But this team, and I'm not going to say the name because it's not with it. I'm going to throw out a few examples, Joe, and then we're going to move on to the next question. But after I throw out these examples, you understand what I'm saying about them wanting to be. So their first act was they bought an ambulance and painted it with their logo.
A little Ghostbuster-ish. Yeah. Sure.
And then after investigating for a year, he decided on his own he was a medium and he could help And
Oh.
and then in a place that's semi known because it's been investigated by ghost hunters and outlaw paranormal, and we've been
Sure.
there several times in Cape Girardeau called I just remember the Glen House. They're banned from there too because they were provoking the spirits.
Yeah, yeah, and you run into a lot of people, they want to act like fools or get treated like fools, and that's gonna get you banned from places. That whole thing.
It's like they said, because I became good friends with them, obviously, because I've been there 4 times now. They're like, the sad thing is about that team is they have all the cool gadgets, they have the amulets, so young people are attracted to them, and they're full of shit.
Yeah, because they got the bells, the whistles, the lights. They had some budget to spend on their props. And so of course that attracts a certain demographic of kids, that want to be like them. An older investigator like me and you would look at that and go, yeah, that's great. I like lights too, but it doesn't mean it's evidence. It's not helping anybody.
Exactly. The funniest thing I ever had with him, and I'm not picking on him, I'm just, I'm proving my case, just so people don't think, oh, he just don't like those people. No, it's not like it. So this was in the beginning where we were still friends, but they have this location in Cape that they investigate as a long-term project. Where they got some evidence, and they called me. They're like, "Hey, Kent, we're the only people who's ever investigated here. We want you to come up here and see what you can capture." So we get there, and it's an interesting place. It used to be a funeral home, and they were trying to change it into a sorority house.
Mm-hmm.
And as they were making while they was doing the remodeling, the spirits kept chasing off the contractors.
Oh, dang!
So interesting location. When we get there and we get set up, and all of a sudden they're like, "Oh, Kent, we need to use your equipment." I'm like, "Okay," but
wow.
They did bring us Subway though, so okay.
Well, there you go. Well, you got a meatball sub out of the deal.
But anyway, so okay, here's the final question. Are you ready?
I'm ready, man.
What is your one piece of advice to someone just starting out in the field?
Read books or look to the forefathers of the paranormal, number one. Read a lot of books. Read everything you get your hands on. Become the sponge of knowledge. Find someone like Kent here that's got more experience than you do. Suck him for all the knowledge you can too. And then get all your experience you can that's practical. To have someone like Kent to take you under your wing. Show you the ropes. Learn properly. It's not for everybody either. And if it's not for you, be honest and say, this just isn't for me. And then don't do it anymore. But my advice to anyone just starting is, start slow, learn your basics. There's a lot to know. It's not something you just decide to do because you saw a TV show. There's a lot of theories, a lot of thoughts. There's a lot of things that go into this that isn't all easy. And if it was easy, everybody would be doing it. Well, wait a minute. Let me back that up. Everybody is doing it. But the great ones are always the students of the paranormal, are always the ones that took the time to not only look back into our past to learn from the forefathers, but then found people that have more experience than they do and learn from them. That's what I say. Find a good team a reputable team in your area. Don't think right away you know everything. Listen. Just shut your mouth and listen. That's the best advice too, is just listen, learn, become that sponge.
I agree with all that. And the only thing I would add is if you're new in the field, that's the only time I actually recommend public investigations or novice investigations.
Yep.
I hate that term, but if you want, that's when you do public investigations because you can get in there, you can use somebody else's equipment.
Right. You can get in there. It's like, going to the batting cages. You know what I mean? You can go try it out. You can go and try this and try that. A lot of these groups have public investigations where they have the public come in and kind of, take them through it and kind of give them a little taste of what it's like.
Yeah, I used to do one. I did the same location for 3 years. I did the Metropolitan Hotel in Paducah, which was the African-American hotel during segregation. Interesting history, a little activity. a nice, safe place for people to get their feet wet.
Yeah.
And then I got irritated with it, and I was like, I'm done.
Yeah, there's also that too. There's only so much you want to do too.
Well,
Yeah,
I mean, the issue became Fergie 103, which is our second biggest radio station down here.
Sure.
They sponsor all my events, so my expo, everything. So they do advertisement at first. Well, the last one I did, they're like, we have a great idea. You're going to take one of our DJs with you. And I was like, I think that this only sounded good on paper.
I was that DJ once though that got sent out with back in my early days of radio, but it was for Bigfoot, and I was sent out.
That's a good location, man. I recommend that.
Yeah, very cool.
Yeah, definitely a good location. So yeah, I mean, if it was any other DJ, it might have been okay, but this one was a skeptic, which that's okay too. I like skeptics, but he was so negative. Like even his team people that came with him.
Yeah.
Got mad.
Yeah. I don't mind an open-minded skeptic, but when you get a cynic with a closed mind, that's where it's problematic.
He kept being like, I'm not going to believe anything until somebody slaps me. I'm like, well, you're probably going to be waiting a while because that's not normal behavior.
And that's when Ken turned around and reached over and smacked him, right, Ken?
Right. and the thing about the Metropolitan, even though it's relatively active, a lot of the activity is residual. So, residual is not going to win over a skeptic.
No,
And some of the other stories are just more folklore than anything you can prove. One of the stories is Josh Gibson, the Black Bay Ruth. He stayed there, and he was by reputation a ladies' man, and you can hear supposedly you hear the bed that he stayed in hitting the wall, and that's supposed to be him with one of his ladies.
Huh. That's interesting.
And
that's a hell of a story.
Yes, I agree with that, Matt. And I go into every investigation as a skeptic. And I've heard the knocking. I mean, I've investigated 13 times, so I've heard the knocking. But I'm not going to say it was Josh Gibson with a woman friend. I'm not going to say that. But, so anyway, all right. So in closing, Joe, tell everybody where to find your book, where to find the program, all that fun stuff.
Yeah, you can. First off, I have a little radio show that gets a couple million listeners named After Hours AM over there at iHeart. We have a lot of fun with that. We're live every Sunday night, and then of course I do a few every night of the week. I'm pretty much on radio. Have a lot of fun with it. Been doing it for a lot of years. My books are going to be coming out. They're forthcoming from Foundations. They're going to be released. It'll be a wide release. You can get it at Barnes & Noble. You can get it everywhere you need to get books at. It's going to be released through there. And, of course, you get a hold of me. I will definitely sign one of those bad boys for you and get that to you. And you can also see me at a couple conferences here and there. I do, like every October, I do the Minnesota Bigfoot Conference. We have a lot of fun doing that. So that's actually first weekend of October. If you feel like you're in the area and you want to come over and check it out, we'd love to see that. And you know what? I'm really accessible. You got questions? I might have answers. I don't have all the answers, but you know what? I usually know someone that has the answer if I don't have it that you're looking for. So Facebook is a great way to get a hold of me. I message back with everybody. When you message me, you're getting me, not someone else, not some agent or this or that. You're getting me. So I do my own social media. And you know what? I'm just like you guys. I'm just trying to find what's out there, the truth behind everything. And if you want me, come on an investigation. All you got to do is say, hey, man, let's go on an investigation. I'll be there. Don't you worry about that. I'll be there.
All right, Matt. Yes, definitely invite people over. We're glad you listened. For the end of season 3, we were on Thursdays at 6:05. Why 6:05? Because I'm a wrestling fan, and that's what time WCW used to come on TBS. So 6:05 Central, and then starting in season 4, which is in January, Bill Murphy is my first guest of season 4, and we were moving to Sundays at 6:05. So yes, invite your friends, invite your family, invite your enemies. I don't care.
Whether you love me or hate me, one thing you're doing is you're listening to me.
Right, right. And it's my podcast, so I can say what I want.
There you go. There you go.
So again, Joe, thank you for being here.
No, thank you for having me, Kent. Really, it's
I
been a
did.
pleasure.
I hope it's okay, but I consider you part of my inner circle now, so expect to hear from me often.
100%, man. 100%.
For life.
Yeah, NWO, the Wolf
For
Pack.
life.
For life.
I'm actually a Shawn Michaels fan.
Oh, really? The little Heartbreak Kid thing going on.
Gotcha, Heartbreak Kid.
Gotcha.
So anyway, thank you for joining us for another episode of Paranormal Addicts Podcast. If you enjoyed today's conversation, please like, follow, subscribe, and share. You can find Paranormal Addicts on Facebook, YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, iHeartRadio, Amazon Music, Podbean, and everywhere you podcast. Tomorrow, we'll post this episode tomorrow. My book, Don't Buy Generic Batteries, and It's Probably Not a Demon. It's available on Amazon, or you can see me live at several events, and I will sign it for you. And just a little piece of advice: if you see me at a live event, it's $10. If you order it off Amazon, it's $12. So,
get a couple bucks off. They run into you in person.
Yeah.
Look at that, man.
If you're interested in having me at your event, conference, expo, or podcast, just hit me up. We can make that happen. Until next time, live paranormal, live courteous, and remember, hunt ghost, not drama.
There it is. Could have said better myself.